What's up, Facebook? What's up, YouTube? Hey, it's your boy Billy Ratliff here with the Volunteer Rose Show. What's going on, Bobby?
I'll tell you what's going on, Billy. I'm ready for some basketball. It's Sweet 16. This is when basketball starts getting serious. The first two rounds, those were appetizers compared to the rest of the tournament. And I'm just excited. And I want to pick your brain a little bit on these remaining 8 games and see what you think about it. We're going to start in the East region, and before we do get into the Duke game, what did you think about that Duke UCF game? We haven't got to talk about it on video yet, but it's definitely going to be a wake up call. But what did you think about that game?
Well, I thought that game was going to be close in my opinion, just because I saw, it's the Central Florida team. They had a lot of big guys that I thought would be able to handle Duke's big guys. You have a 7'6" kid by the name of Taco, and he was easily can guard the paint, making it tough for guys to shoot over him. And Zion and those guys, they got a chance to see what it's going to look like in the next level in the NBA. And they took control of that game of getting Taco in foul trouble, and that was the X factor in that game is getting the big man out of that game so they can actually control the paint themselves.
I agree with you. I didn't realize how big he was until I saw a picture of him up against Zion, and I said, my goodness, he looked like Goliath. He looked like he was about 10 foot tall. But I tell you what, about that game, I had Duke winning, but I didn't think it was going to turn out like it did. And hats off to Johnny Dawkins. I mean, he was playing at Duke when I was in high school, and I remember those days. And he almost took down his old team, and he's putting UCF on the map. His son had 32 points, but what I got out of that game more than anything is the class of Coach K. After the game, I saw some video clips of him going over to the UCF players, hugging them. They were crying. I mean, they laid it all out on the court, and that was good to see.
Yes, they did.
Good to see from Coach K. And I know UCF. Look out, guys. UCF. They're getting it together in football the last few years, but man, I think they're going to be back in this tournament next year, and I think Johnny Dawkins has got them right where they need to be. What do you think about Johnny Dawkins? I don't know how much you remember, but he was a great player. I think he's a great coach.
He most definitely is a great coach, man. He was a great player when he was at Duke as well. That's that coach I always preach and say it every time. He's a player's coach, man. He knows how to get those guys motivated and ready to play the game, man. You can tell just by how the kids are playing for him with the caliber of talent that they're bringing to UCF right now. Now that these guys have, got this far into the tournament and gave Duke a run for their money, watch out, everybody, because these guys are going to start going to UCF, and Dawkins going to be recruiting some great kids in the future.
Oh, I agree. Well, let's just get right into it. Let's help make the viewers of the Volunteer Roadshow some money. I know my bracket's busted, but I'm still alive because I've got Tennessee on my only bracket I filled out. But what do you think about that 1-4 matchup with Duke and Virginia Tech?
Well, I think it's going to be a pretty good game, I think, for the first 3 minutes of the game. But I think Duke is coming out, and they're going to really put it to Virginia Tech. They had that scare with UCF, because normally there is a buzzer beater that's happened by now, and it's yet to happen. And I don't think they want it to be that close this time. I think they're going to come out first few minutes trying to get a feel for Virginia Tech, and when Virginia Tech really see Zion, how overwhelmed he's going to be with them, it's going to get ugly real fast in the first half. I got a feeling they'll win by 15 points.
Well, I don't think there needs to be a lot of analysis on this game. It comes down to that was a wake-up call. Duke got it, and they're going to answer it, and I think they're going to run all the way to the finals. You can't have a wake-up call like that and have the players that they have and the coach that they have and not respond. So I'm going to go with Duke too. The other game over there in that region, in the East region, is a SEC Big Ten matchup. Got a 3-seeded LSU versus a 2-seeded Michigan State. What do you think about that game?
I think this is going to be a pretty good game. I think LSU, they've played well so far in the tournament. They have the interim coach that's keeping these guys motivated right now to continue to play right now because, it's easy for those guys to just shut it down when the head coach goes out and all these allegations that are coming out. It's easy for those guys to just say, no, I don't want to play. But these guys have gave it all for the interim coach, and they're doing well so far. But I really do think that this is going to come down to coaching. Michigan State has the great coach, the best coach right now in this game, and I think that they're going to come out and win this game victoriously, easily by at least 7 points.
I see where you're coming from on that. Michigan State, they seem like they're in the tournament in the Sweet 16 about every year. But I think the LSU has a chip on their shoulder. They've got some decent players. I'm going to go with LSU just because they've got a chip on their shoulder, and I like that interim coach they have at LSU. Like you said, players, coaches is what you really need in this time of crisis, and LSU is in a crisis time. But let's turn our attention over to the West region, Billy. We've got a team that we played when they were ranked number 1. Number 1 seeded Gonzaga versus 4 seeded Florida State. What do you think about that game?
I think this is going to be a little challenge for Gonzaga, because the Florida State, they're a pretty big team. They can shoot the ball well. And, of course, with Gonzaga, they're a veteran team. They got a lot of guys that's been in this situation before in the tournament. And, of course, it also, I still say it comes down to coaching. And Gonzaga got a good coach, and I think they're ready to get past the Elite 16 and get down to the 8. This is going to be something that I still say this is one of my top 3 games this weekend, and I still say Gonzaga come out and win this game by 6.
I agree with you, too. Gonzaga, they're a well-coached team. They've got some good players. They've got 2 or 3 ball players that I think will end up being drafted eventually when they go into the draft. So I'm going to go with Gonzaga because of their coaching and their tournament experience. And the other game in that West region is an interesting matchup, a 3-seeded Texas Tech versus a 2-seeded Michigan. And every time I think of Michigan basketball, I think of the Fab Five. I remember when Chris Webber called that timeout that he didn't have.
Oh, my.
So what do you think about this game?
I think this game is going to be a lot closer than everybody thinks it's going to be. I got a feeling everybody thinks that Michigan State's going to blow Texas Tech out in a sense, but I still say that Texas Tech is a great team. These guys are shooting well right now. They're not throwing up any shots that's not contested or whatever. They're shooting great shots. They're not taking bad shots at all. And defensively, they're doing the same thing they've done all season long. They're shutting everybody down. They're making you shoot the outside shots, not giving you anything easy in the paint. And then you got Michigan. These guys have been a roller coaster team, up and down, and you just don't know which team is coming to play. Is it going to be the defensive-minded team or is it going to be the offensive team? They just don't know what they're going to do. But I still think that Michigan will come out on top by at least 3 points.
I think it'll be a little bit bigger victory than that because I think – I'm just not that impressed with Texas Tech, and I think Michigan, I think they're getting it together in the tournament. And so I'm going to take Michigan on that one. The other 2 regions, let's go ahead and start out in the Midwest region. Kansas City, Missouri, we've got 1-seeded North Carolina and the red-hot Auburn Tigers of 5 seed. What do you think about that game?
Oh man, this is that's one of my top 3 games this weekend, man. This is going to be a high-scoring game, man. I still say Auburn will still continue to be hot with shooting, but I think their luck is going to finally run out when they come up against North Carolina. North Carolina got some some guards that can play the perimeter and get their hands in their face, and they're very disciplined as well. And there's also going to be a great role with North Carolina winning this game. I still have North Carolina winning this game by 8 points.
I just don't think that Auburn – how do you have any more in the tank what they did to Kansas? Now, I realize their coach, Kansas coach Bill Self, was retired, and they were down a couple players. But still, to play the way Auburn did, and they're – like you told me before the show, they're the hottest team in the tournament right now. The way they just everything they threw up, they could have thrown no-look shots and made them the way they were against Kansas. But I go back to that game. They struggled. They struggled against New Mexico State. They bounced back and took Kansas out. I think Auburn's been up and down this season too, and I just think North Carolina is going to be too much for Auburn. But the other game in that region, that Midwest region in Kansas City, I don't know what I want to hear what you have to say about it. Got a third-seeded Houston, which is one of your sleepers, and Kentucky. I don't know if anybody really knows P.J. Washington's going to play, and if he does, is he 100%? But I want to know what you think about that game.
Oh, this is going to be another good game. I thought that, after watching Kentucky play this season, they've been good, but the same thing, they're going to be missing a piece of their puzzle. Fortunately, if he doesn't play this game, I really think they're going to struggle a little bit. And, of course, Houston, they have been lighting it up all season long. I think everybody was calling this team a Cinderella team, that they get lucky or whatever. But these guys have showed that they can play with the best of them. And no matter who they play, they don't back down to anyone. Even if they go down and losing, they don't act as if they're losing. They still play their game and they don't get out. And they got a great coach. And the coach, he's doing good. But I still think that Kentucky will still come out on top and win this game here. I still think it'll be a close game. I see Kentucky winning by 3 points.
I'm going to go with Houston on this one, but just because even if P.J. Washington plays, I mean, it's pretty bad foot injury. I don't know how he's going to be. Just the unknown with that. I'm just going to take Houston, and not just because of P.J. Washington, but because, like you said, Houston shouldn't be a Cinderella team. They're a great all around team. So let's go to our Tennessee Volunteer region, the South region, which I think was a great draw for us. We're going to go with the Purdue Tennessee game, just a real quick one, because we got a video that we go in real in depth with this game. But for the viewers of this video, kind of give a quick synopsis of this Purdue Tennessee game.
Well, Purdue and Tennessee got a little history that they played. They played last year. Tennessee came out on top, and I still say that Purdue, they have some good players as well. They are coached good as well, so they have a good coach over there. Of course, the Vols, they've been inconsistent up and down, just depend on what second half team that comes out and play. I think it's going to be a good game.
I think it's going to be a good game. I think we beat them 78-75 in one of them opening season tournaments last year. But I got my Vols. They're in all the way to the end, because you wouldn't be a Vol fan if you didn't have at least one bracket with the Vols going all the way. and I think the first two games for Tennessee is a wake-up call. But watch our video on this Purdue-Tennessee game, and we'll go in more in-depth in that game. But the other game in the South region is the one-seeded Virginia against the red-hot 12th-seeded Oregon. Could this be a Cinderella with Oregon?
Right now, they are the Cinderella of this tournament right now. They have been red hot, and they are making baskets, man. They're not missing shots. They're playing great defense. This is a pretty long and big team. They guard the perimeter well and also the paint. Virginia, they're a tough defensive team. They like to keep you under 50 points if they can. I still say that Virginia, they have had their wake-up call the past 2 years, and I think they had their wake-up call this year in the first game here. I really think Virginia will come out to play, and I think they'll win this game by at least 15 points.
I've changed my mind probably 2 or 3 times on this game in the last 15 minutes. I remember Loyola last year was a Cinderella, made it all the way to the Final Four, beat some teams they shouldn't have beat. Is Oregon this type of team? I don't know. My head says Virginia should handle Oregon pretty good, but I watched some highlights of that Oregon-Wisconsin game, and Oregon's a good team. But I'm not going to go with my heart because my heart says I always want to see a Cinderella make it, but I just think Virginia will be too much for the reasons you said. But this is going to be a great tournament. One of the better ones we've seen in a while. I think the tournament is going to keep getting better these last games of this tournament, and so I'm excited about it. And we're going to come out here and see how we do at the end of this Sweet 16 round. We're going to see how good we are. I'm picking the Elite Eight, and we'll just see. So, Billy, I understand you might be going to Louisville to watch our boys play. I hope you have a good time if you're able to go. If you're not, I'm sure you'll watch it on TV. But I'm glad to have you on the show. I got my shirt from my Hound Dogs, and I'm wearing it. You can't see it, but I'm wearing it. And we're going to be repping our Vols all the way to the end. But you got anything else you want to say about these games before we wrap this up?
Well, I think everybody just tune in, man. It's going to be a lot of great games on this weekend, man. I mean, it's probably the first time I've ever seen this many great teams.
Yeah.
The final 16 teams with this many. We only have one team that's over a 12 seed, or well, at least a 12 seed. That was Oregon. And I still don't call them Cinderella because they have been to this tournament before, and we're going to see a bunch of good games and have some fun this weekend.
All right, guys, this is up on both Facebook and YouTube. We post our videos, and we do a live stream. We're going to be doing some post-game lives for the rest of this tournament. So check us out on Facebook if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're watching this on Facebook, check us out on YouTube. We've got some YouTube-only material and content that we put up. So those that have been watching us for a while, y'all know what's coming next. Thanks for tuning in. Go Vols. I tell you what, the Tennessee men's basketball team better get it in gear or they won't make it to the Elite Eight. But we know they're going to get it in gear. I promise you that.